Okay, let's dive right in. Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Hey, everyone.
Today, we're plunging into the dynamic world of Metal Fight Beyblade. We're looking at excerpts from the manga starting way back at the beginning and going through some pretty key developments.
That's right. We've got these snippets, these moments that show us the main players, how the conflicts, build up and how the power levels escalate.
Yeah, so our mission really is to go through these, find the important bits, the strategy changes, character growth, the lore.
Exactly. And help you get a handle on the core story progression, just based on the material we have in front of us.
Think of it as cutting through to what really matters in the Metal Fight Beyblade world presented. So let's start at the beginning, chapter Z through 4. How does it all get set up?
Okay, so chapter Z, that's just labeled preview. It's a little teaser.
Right.
But chapter 1 hits hard with the arrival of Pegasus. And the sources make it sound like this arrival is, purposeful. Pegasus is immediately positioned as central.
Almost symbolic, maybe.
Could be. And then right away, chapter 2, Leonie's roar. So we don't just get one Kibei, we get Leonie showing up, making noise, assertive.
It's fast, isn't it? Establishing that duality.
Yeah, Pegasus arrives, hinting at something important, then Leonie roars like an immediate counterweight, suggests that push and pull is baked in from the start.
And then chapter 3 complicates things with the Forbidden Bay L-Drago. That word, forbidden.
Yeah, it's loaded, right? Instantly gives you mystery, danger.
Like power that's just wrong or too much to handle.
Exactly. The sources call it a game changer, adds lore, introduces this major potential threat, a disruptor.
Which pays off immediately in chapter 4, Clash, Gingka versus Ryuga.
No messing around.
Nope. We get the human side Gingka, Ryuga clearly tied to Pegasus and L-Drago, and bam, they're fighting.
The pacing is just incredibly tight in these first few chapters.
Totally. Intro Pegasus, counter Leonie, mystery L-Drago, then the core conflict is set. Gingka versus Ryuga, it locks in that central rivalry super quickly. The foundation's there. Okay, so core conflict established. Then this story seems to zoom in on Gingka personally. Chapters 5 through 9. Chapter 5 is Get Up Gingka. He's in a slump.
A serious one, yeah. He can't battle right. And the sources stress it's not just technique. It's described as deeper, an emotional disconnect almost with Storm Pegasus. Their bond is weak. How does he fix that?
That's the core question here, isn't it? Chapter 6, Revive Pegasus, shows him working on it, not just training.
Right. It's called an intuitive effort, trying to reconnect, understand the problem on a fundamental level. It really highlights that partnership. It's not just a kid in a spinning top.
Makes the payoff in chapter 7, the resurrection of Pegasus, feel really earned then.
It does. Pegasus is back, and the trigger seems to be Gingka getting back in sync, restoring that bond.
And just in time, because chapter 8 drops the opening of Battle Blader. Huge tournament announced.
Classic timing. The world suddenly gets way bigger.
Right. He overcomes the inner demon just as this massive external challenge appears. High-stakes competition.
And chapter 9, Let the Tournament Begin, throws you right into that tournament vibe. The buzz, the anticipation.
So it's a quick move from that internal struggle to this big public arena.
Yeah. And that slump arc really shows that Ginka's bond with Pegasus is crucial. Overcoming it wasn't about skill drills. It was about rediscovering that deep connection.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What does it actually take to get out of a slump like that?
Yeah.
Especially when it feels internal. Perseverance, sure, but the connection to your passion.
Seems vital. For recovery and getting ready for what's next, something for you, the listener, to maybe think about with your own challenges.
So after Ginka's back on his feet, things ramp up fast. Chapters 10 to 14 feel like power shifts and new strategies.
Definitely. Chapter 10, The Dragon Emperor Transforms. Okay, 2 things here. Introduces legendary bladers, like this top tier exists.
Hints at a bigger hierarchy.
Right. And Ginka's own Storm Pegasus evolves big time. Gets a power up.
Which he probably needs if legendary bladers are now a thing. The timing feels important.
Crucial. And the challenges reflect that. Chapter 11, The Terrifying Lightning L-Drago. A new, way scarier version of Ryuga's Bay, described as just pure destruction.
Creates this real sense of danger, right? Not just a strong opponent, but something malicious, a force.
Yeah, the stakes feel immediately higher. But then chapter 12 throws a curveball, The Untouchable Bay Pisces, a totally different challenge.
Untouchable. How does that work in Beyblade?
The sources suggest it's super elusive, hard to hit, hard to damage.
Ah, okay.
So you can't just power through. It forces you to think differently, maybe find a weird weakness, outlast it, use the stadium. It puts the spotlight on strategy and adaptability, not just brute force.
Tests a whole different skill set.
Exactly. Then chapter 13, Double Annihilation Attacks, sounds intense, like bladers are pushing their absolute limits with devastating moves.
In chapter 14, Fight to the Death. Wow. Title says it all.
Yeah, it suggests the fights move beyond sport. There's desperation, real commitment, makes the wins and losses feel heavier.
Okay, so this stretch shows Pegasus powering up to face both destructive threats like Lightning L-Drago and tricky strategic ones like Pisces, bigger attacks, higher stakes.
And a need to adapt. The whole Beyblade world seems to be leveling up, demanding more from the bladers.
It really demonstrates that necessary evolution, doesn't it? You face tougher stuff, you have to transform. What transformations might you need?
And those untouchable problems, like Pisces, they force a total rethink, finding non-obvious answers. A great parallel.
Moving on, chapters 15 to 19 seem focused on rivalries heating up, major evolutions, and some twists. Chapter 15, the Supreme Dragon Awakened, Ryuga again.
And Supreme Dragon sounds even more powerful. Immense power, legendary status. It reflects Ryuga's ambition and sets him up as this massive, almost natural force challenge.
But Gingka needs an answer, which he gets in chapter 16, the ultimate special move, Galaxy Nova.
Yeah, this is Gingka finding a new level. It's presented as the counter to Ryuga's darkness. The sources call it his beacon of hope.
So it's more than just a power move, it has meaning.
Feels like it, tied to his spirit. Then, chapter 17, last battle before the final. The lion faces the dragon. Kyowa versus Ryuga.
Even if it's not the final, that title ramps up the intensity. Highlights Kyowa's courage against crazy odds.
Totally builds the tension for the main event. Chapter 18, the final battle, Gingka versus Ryuga. This is it.
The sources describe it as nail-biting. Lots of momentum shifts.
And they frame it as power versus spirit, gives it that deeper thematic weight,
Yeah, it's not just about who spins longer.
Yeah.
But then, a twist in chapter 19, the Dragon Emperor goes berserk.
Whoa, totally unexpected. Ryuga's Bay loses control.
Apparently. Introduces unpredictability. Maybe even ultimate power has a wild side or limits. Leaves Ryuga's situation uncertain. Suggests a whole new kind of danger.
That's a major cliffhanger element. And somewhere in here, Source 4 mentions Sora Akatsuki and Cyber Pegasus.
Right. A new blader. Doesn't seem directly in the Gingka Ryuga mix here, but his appearance broadens the world.
Yeah, suggests things are expanding, new players, new dynamics, potential ally, potential rival, who knows?
So recapping this bit, Ginka's big level up with Galaxy Nova, Kyo's bravery, the huge Gingka Ryuga final, the shocking berserk twist, and Sora entering the scene. It's packed. Growth, conflict, shocks.
He definitely reshakes the landscape. With Sora appearing and L-Drago acting up, what comes next?
Good question. Seems like it sets the stage for even bigger things. How do these personal fights scale up?
Yeah, especially if the world itself is getting bigger.
Okay, moving into chapters 20 to 23. This looks like setup for a major tournament, but also something darker. Chapter 20, Stand Up Gingka. He's struggling again.
Seems like it. Internal struggle, self-doubt after all that intensity. Needs to find his resolve again.
Adds depth, doesn't it? Even heroes have to keep overcoming things internally.
Definitely. Then chapter 21, a new blader arrives in Japan. Classic move. Friend or foe.
Creates instant suspense, shifts the local dynamic.
Yeah, the focus seems to be on the impact of this newcomer. Then chapter 22 is clearly the main event, the opening of Big Bang Glitters.
Right, the huge international tournament we heard about, best of the best, excitement, anticipation. This feels like where the competition story is heading.
But then chapter 23 throws a real curveball. Gingka versus the Army of Darkness.
That does not sound like a tournament match.
No way, Army of Darkness. That sounds way bigger, more sinister, like a threat to Beyblade itself, maybe? Not just individual rivalry?
Calling it another heroic battle implies Ginka's facing something huge and unified. A different kind of threat.
Feels like a major escalation in the kind of danger, moving beyond just winning matches.
Absolutely. So these chapters, Gingka finds inner strength, a new blader disrupts things, the big tournament starts, and this massive external dark threat emerges.
It's a rapid escalation on multiple fronts.
So how does Gingka juggle this? The internal stuff, facing an army and competing in this top-tier tournament. Does one distract from the other?
That's the tension, right. His resolve is key for everything, but fighting an army of darkness is different from a one-on-one match. Could it sharpen him, drain him?
And how do the new blader in this army fit in? Do they clash? Is the tournament the real fight, or is it overshadowed by this bigger threat?
Lots of potential conflicts layered here in the sources. It keeps you guessing.
Okay, let's look at some chapters showing the sheer variety of challenges. Bonus chapters 24 to 26. The bonus chapter, Beyblade versus the Sun, Sawblaze facing the sun.
Yeah, sounds almost elemental. Raw solar power, heat. How do you even strategize against that? A barrier. Using the environment. It's an overwhelming, almost impossible seeming challenge.
Wild. Then chapter 24, a totally different problem. A Beyblade immune to special moves.
Whoa. Okay, so special moves, like Galaxy Nova, are usually game winners, right?
Key strategies, yeah.
A Beyblade immune to those, that just nullifies a huge part of the standard playbook.
That's a massive disruptor. What do you do then?
Forces you back to basics: stamina, launch precision, using the stadium. It tests pure, fundamental skill and how well you can adapt when your big weapon is used.
Levels the playing field, makes you rely on core mastery. Interesting. Then Chapter 25 adds a darker twist. Destroyer, the Dark Bay.
Ominous name. Sources suggest it's built to actually break other bays, not just win, but destroy.
So there's physical risk now. Your Beyblade could be wrecked.
Exact. Changes the stakes completely. It's not just about losing points, it's about losing your partner. Potentially. Makes you think twice about battling it.
Yeah, definitely more consequential. And Chapter 26 brings us back to the international stage. Europe versus Japan, the decisive battle.
Big shift. National pride, different regional styles clashing, maybe different philosophies, attack versus defense, unique techniques, adds that strategic layer, like a metagame.
So across these, we've got elemental power, strategic immunity, physical destruction, and international clash. What's the key skill needed for all that?
Adaptability leaps out. Reading the situation, sun, immunity destroyer, new style and adjusting, but also solid fundamentals. When the flashy moves don't work, you need that core skill.
So it's that mix, adaptability built on strong basics.
I think so. Knowing what skill to use when and how to shift. And for you, the listener, think about how these show up in life, right? The untouchable problem, the time you have to rely on basics, the opponent who changes the game. What skills do you lean on? Are you adaptable?
Good point. Now, Ryuga keeps popping up. Bonus chapters 27 through 30 really focus on his impact. Chapter 27, the return of L-Drago.
Big moment. The Forbidden Bay is back, shakes everything up, brings back those old fears, reignites rivalries, sets a dangerous tone.
And he's not passive. Chapter 28 is Ryuga intervene.
Yep, he's actively getting involved, probably for his own reasons, knowing Ryuga. Maybe events threaten his plans. Maybe it's just a chance to show off L-Drago's power, cause some chaos.
Classic Ryuga. Then Chapter 29 introduces a tough opponent, the Bay from Hell, Hades Kerbex.
What a name! And crucially, the sources say it's a defense type. Think massive wall, built to absorb hits.
So potentially designed to counter aggressive attackers like Pegasus or L-Drago.
Could be. Creates this huge obstacle. Might force even the strongest attackers to find a different approach. Raises the stakes with this seemingly unbeatable defense.
Which builds towards Chapter 30, the World Championship Final, victory at all costs. Sounds like the climax.
It feels like the peak of this competition arc. And victory at all costs hints at desperation, maybe some shady stuff. With Ryuga involved, competing or interfering, it's bound to be intense and unpredictable.
And there's a bonus chapter, Clash of the Titans, Ryuga versus Helios.
Clash to the Titans says it all, right? Epic battle. Two immense powers going head-to-head. A pure test of strength at the absolute highest level shown so far.
So L-Drago's back. Ryuga's constantly intervening, facing tough opponents like that defense type, possibly messing with the World Championship, fighting other Titans.
Paints a picture of Ryuga as this central disruptive force. He doesn't just compete, he escalates everything around him, shapes the conflict.
He's absolutely key to the drama, always pushing things. Makes you wonder, though, beyond just power and chaos, what's his actual endgame? What's driving him?
That's a great question the sources leave hanging. What is the motivation behind that relentless? Something for you, listeners.
Okay, let's look at further evolution and this idea of mastery being a continuous climb. Bonus chapters 31 through 30. Bonus chapter, Pegasus versus Divine Chimera.
Another wild battle, right? Outside the norm. Reinforces that need to adapt on the fly to weird opponents and situations.
Then chapter 31. Damien starts off with a bang, featuring Hades Kerbex, again, that defense type.
Yeah, Damien making a powerful entrance, shows the threat level is still high, series contenders wielding these powerful bays, challenges aren't here.
And then a huge evolution for Gingka in chapter 32, the Bay of Souls, Cosmic Pegasus.
Bay of Souls, that's evocative, isn't it? These big Pegasus transformations seem triggered by extreme pressure, the blader spirit, that connection. It implies something deeper than just mechanics.
Like a spiritual bond unlocking new power.
Exactly. Resonance. It really explores what it means for Blader and Bay to be truly almost extensions of each other, not just a tool, but a partner on.
Wow. Highlights how the Blader's inner state unlocks the Bay's potential.
For sure. And that sets the stage for Chapter 33, the end of Big Bang Loaders, the climax of that tournament.
Maximum intensity, top players, resolution to that storyline.
But the journey doesn't stop there. Chapter 34 is the road to Ultimate Blader, Ultimate Challenge.
So mastery isn't the end goal, it's a path.
Seems like it. The sources suggest challenges get even more complex, demanding deeper strategy, maybe even higher levels of power or connection. It keeps pushing them.
What does ultimate even mean if the road is endless? Is there a peak?
Maybe not. Maybe conflict just keeps fueling transformation, and the bar for ultimate keeps rising. Blader and Bay grow together, so wild fights, Cosmic Pegasus heading towards Ultimate Bladers. It's relentless.
Finally, bonus chapters 35 to 38 show the scope widening dramatically. Power tiers seem to be shifting. Starts with a bonus chapter, The Great Beyblade Race Around Metal Bee Island.
Yeah, this feels like a fun, contained sporting event, pushing tops across an island, establishes a baseline maybe, live less dire.
But then chapter 35 hits with The Raging Storm.
That sounds like a major disruption. Chaotic, maybe destructive. Sets the stage for something bigger, more dangerous than a race.
And that bigger thing arrives in chapter 36, L-Drago Destructor.
Destructor? I mean, wow. Compared to lightning, this sounds like a massive leap in raw destructive power. Could change the rules of what a Beyblade can even do. Makes earlier stuff look small. A whole new tier.
So Storm, then Destructor, and then chapter 37 introduces the legendary Bladers.
Plural. Legendary. Not just one guy. Suggests deeper, older powers. Maybe a secret history or a new era of Bladers beyond the norm. A whole class of power. Stakes jump way up.
From an island race to world-shaking forces and legends. And right after that, chapter 38 introduces King. King Blading Prodigy enters the arena.
A prodigy, immense natural talent. The timing, right after legendary Bladers, feels deliberate. Is he connected? A product of this new era. A new rival for these forces.
Definitely builds anticipation for his role in whatever's unfolding with these legends and destructive power.
So this section zooms way out. Fun race to chaotic storm, devastating L-Drago, ancient powerful legendary Bladers, and a prodigy steps in. The contrast.
The scope goes from local to epic. The Beyblade world itself seems to be changing, becoming grander, more dangerous.
Feels like a massive turning point. New power levels, new rules maybe, new major players.
Leaves so many questions too. How do the Storm Destructor, the legends, and King all connect? What does being a prodigy mean now? Is King part of the legend or starting a new one?
Phew. So we've journeyed through these sources: initial rivalry, personal struggles, evolving powers, diverse challenges, global stages, big twists, and now these legendary forces and prodigies emerging.
We've definitely seen how vital that Blader-Beyblade bond is, the constant need to evolve and adapt.
And how conflict really drives that growth and transformation.
Yeah. And thinking about all of it, the team-ups, the ultimate moves, this endless climb towards mastery, what's the point of all that power and striving in this world?
Is it really just about winning tournaments? Or is there something deeper pushing them towards the next challenge, the next evolution?
It feels like mastery isn't a destination, but a continuous road. Something for you to think about, maybe, as you face your own challenges and climb towards whatever ultimate means for you.
A fascinating thought to end on.
Definitely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.